Sleep is really important. It's a really important part of your daily routine. To me, getting enough sleep at night is like one of the top 3 things you can do for your total health. And you spend about 1/3 of your time doing it, or 1/3 of your life. So obviously, it's important if you're spending that much time sleeping. Getting enough quality sleep is as vital to our survival as eating food and drinking water, and that's because it helps the brain rest. Your brain and your body need time to cope with the stressors that occur throughout the day and all the information that brain takes in. Before, we had technology like we do now, before we had these smartphones, like when I was growing up, I could go home and I could just turn everything off. I wasn't constantly getting information like you guys are today. You're constantly taking in new information, whether that be for school or even just on TikTok or other social media platforms. So it is really important for you guys to get enough sleep at night so that your brain has time, or that time and space, to allow it to rest and process everything that it experienced throughout the day. We need that processing time where we're not taking in new information. Recent findings also suggest that sleep plays an important role in getting rid of the toxins that build up in our brain when we are awake. There are 2 basic types of sleep that we go through: a rapid eye movement sleep, or a REM sleep, and a non-REM sleep, which has 3 different stages. Each type is linked to specific brain waves and neuronal activity, and we typically cycle through all these stages several times during a night's sleep, with increasingly longer and deeper REM periods occurring toward the morning. So stage 1 is a non-REM type of sleep. This is the changeover from wakefulness to sleep. It's very short. It only lasts a few minutes, and it's our lightest sleep that we enter into. So it's very easy for someone to be woken up because we still have a high sense of awareness. But during stage 1, our heartbeat, breathing, and eye movement all starts to slow. Our muscles relax. If you've ever seen someone falling asleep, you might see their muscles occasionally twitch. That's stage 1. That happens in stage 1. In stage 2, that's another non-REM stage of sleep. This is the period of light sleep before entering into a deep sleep. Heartbeat, breathing, those all slow. Our body temperatures drop. Muscles relax even further, and our eye movement stops completely. Our brain activity also slows, but every once in a while it might spike really quickly because of a burst of electrical activity. That's what we call a sleep spindle, but for the most part, our brain activity slows. We also spend more of our repeated sleep cycles in stage 2 sleep than any other sleep cycle. Stage 3 is the last non-REM stage of sleep. This is the period of deep sleep that we really need to feel rested in the morning. It occurs for longer periods during the first half of the night, and this is where our heartbeat and breathing are at their lowest or slowest levels. Our muscles are also so relaxed that it may be difficult to be woken up, and our brain waves, or our brain activity, is at its lowest level. Stage 4 is the only REM stage of sleep. It first occurs about 90 minutes after falling asleep and is characterized by our eyes moving rapidly from side to side behind our closed eyelids. That's why it's called rapid eye movement. Interestingly enough, brainwave activity becomes closer to that seen during wakefulness. So our brain activity picks up, our breathing increases and becomes more irregular, heart rate and blood pressure rise to near waking levels. And we do a lot of our dreaming in our REM sleep. We can have dreams in any stages of sleep, but our most vivid dreams occur during our REM cycles, or the REM sleep. Arm and leg muscles will also become temporarily paralyzed in this stage so that you don't act out your dreams. As you age, you spend less of your time in this REM sleep. And memory consolidation most likely requires both non-REM and REM sleep. There are 2 internal biological mechanisms that control and regulate when we are asleep and when we are awake. The circadian rhythm does a lot of different things for our body, not only with our sleep, but it also controls our body temperature, how we metabolize food, and how we release hormones as well. But we often associate our circadian rhythms with the timing of our sleep. So this is what causes you to become more sleepy at night and the tendency to wake without an alarm in the morning. It's synced to a person's biological clock, or their own body, which is roughly based on a 24-hour day. And it also synchronizes with environmental cues like light and temperature. So even if, like, for example, if we're in a really bright area, that's going to affect when we feel sleepy or not. If we're in a really warm or too cold area, that's going to affect how sleepy we are or not. Sleep-wake homeostasis, also known as the sleep drive, also keeps track of your body's need for sleep. So this is what reminds your body to sleep after a certain period of time or a certain period of time of wakefulness. So it gets stronger every hour you are awake and causes you to sleep longer and deeper after a period of sleep deprivation. There are some factors, though, that can influence your sleep drive. For example, having a medical condition, taking a certain medication. Some medications affect our ability to sleep. Dealing with a lot of stress, your sleep environment, like being in an environment with loud noises and bright lights, is going to affect your ability to sleep, as well as what you eat and drink. If somebody's drinking a lot of caffeine during the day, that's going to affect their ability to fall asleep and also get into that deep part of sleep, or that stage 3 of sleep that we need. Dreaming. Everybody dreams. We spend about 2 hours each night dreaming, but most of us don't remember our dreams. You can, however, keep a sleep journal where you wake up every morning and you write down everything you remember about what you dreamed about. And after about 2 weeks of keeping that journal, you should be able to know or remember more about your dreams. Its exact purpose still isn't known, but one of the theories out there is dreaming helps us process our emotions. And the events from the day often invade our thoughts during sleep. People suffering from a lot of stress and anxiety are more likely to have scary dreams. And while dreams can happen in all stages of sleep, they're usually most vivid during our REM sleep. Lastly, some people dream in color, while others only dream in black and white, which is kind of interesting. So, how much sleep do you really need? Well, I'm going to tell you that magic number of 8 hours is a lot. Really, the amount of sleep that an individual needs is different for every person. So it does vary. There's no magic number of hours of sleep that works for everybody the same age. But we do tend to have ranges for certain ages. So babies tend to sleep for 16 to 18 hours. They need the most sleep because they're going through the most growth. You guys need, on average, about 9.5 hours per night. But you probably know what your magic number is based on how much sleep you get. For me, if I get 8 hours of sleep, I wake up in the middle of a cycle and I am more tired than if I got 7 hours of sleep. I'm golden. If I got 9 hours of sleep, also great. Anything less than 6 for me, I'm dead to the world though. So you guys probably also have a number kind of like that. You kind of have an idea of how many hours you need. Most adults need 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. And as you get older, like after 60, your sleep tends to be shorter and lighter and interrupted by multiple awakenings. And particularly elderly adults are more likely to take medications that interfere with their sleep, so they tend to not get as good sleep either. We know not getting enough sleep at night has negative consequences for our health. So people who don't get enough sleep at night tend to have a higher body weight. Poor sleepers also tend to have an increased risk of heart disease and stroke. It affects their glucose metabolism and type 2 diabetes risk. So it increases the risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Poor sleep is linked to higher rates of depression and an increase in inflammation in the body. And it affects your emotions and social interactions, especially with people the next day. We also know getting enough sleep tends to have some benefits on the body. Good sleepers tend to eat fewer calories. They tend to not overeat. It also improves concentration and productivity. You guys probably feel that in your everyday life when you get a good night's sleep versus when you don't. Getting good sleep can maximize athletic performance, and it improves our immune function. That's why when you get sick, you need to have a good rest and extra, even naps and stuff like that, to help strengthen that immune system and fight off that cold or virus or whatever you've got. So, how do we get a good night's sleep? Here's some tips for getting more sleep at night. You want to use your bed just for sleeping, not for doing anything else, not for doing homework, not for reading, not for playing games or talking on the phone or watching a show on your devices. When we use our bed for other things, then our brain starts to associate our bed with other things and not with sleep. And we want our brains to associate our bed with just sleeping. You also want to avoid drinking caffeine late in the day. Experts kind of say after 3 p.m. you want to try to avoid caffeine because what happens is it prevents us from falling asleep at night because it affects our circadian rhythm. And even if you are able to fall asleep, you're not going to be able to reach, or it's much harder to reach that deep stage of sleep, that stage 3 that we need to feel rested the next day. You also want to have some relaxation routine before you go to bed, whether that be taking a bath or a shower, whether that be reading a book, brushing your teeth. That allows the body or tells your body that you're getting ready to go for bed when you have that relaxation routine, and it brings the body down into a state of relaxation so that it is easier to go to sleep. You also want to have a sleep schedule where you keep your waking and sleeping times consistent, so you're waking up kind of at the same time every morning and you're going to bed at the same time every night. Now, obviously, some life events get in the way of that, and like when I'm teaching 0 hour, I'm not going to get up at 4:30 in the morning on a weekend. It's just not going to happen. But if you can keep them as consistent as you can, that's going to help you get more rest at night. It's also important to create a sleep atmosphere in your room. So you want to avoid bright lights in your room when you're going to bed, loud sounds. You want to keep your room at a comfortable temperature. I think it's like 68, 69 degrees is like optimal temperature for sleeping. But obviously it's whatever it is for your body. You don't want to watch TV or have a computer in your room right before bed. Any blue light you want to turn off at least 1 hour before bedtime, which I know is hard. It's hard for me too. I like to watch a show before I go to bed. That's how I decompress and come down from the day. But as much as you can, that blue light, turning off that blue light will help you fall asleep and get into that deep sleep faster. Lastly, getting regular exercise is going to help you sleep. Exercising about 20 to 30 minutes per day is going to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep, especially in that deep sleep, for longer. You don't, however, want to exercise right before you go to bed. So a few hours before you normally go to bed is not the time to exercise, because exercise amps your body up even for a few hours after you finish your workout. So you don't want to do that right before you plan to go to bed. But don't take it from me. Take it from Kobe.